Hey everyone, something a little bit different today. I'd like to introduce you to Baloo, who's currently chasing a fly at the bottom of the stairs down there. Ah, see you, pal. We're doing a sim rig tour today, so let's skim around here. First thing you should do if you're ever building a sim rig, put it right next to the toilet. You need to go, and you're busting, you're out the seat, put it on autopilot, 60 seconds, you're back in the seat again. That's what you need the toilet that close. Anyway, let's have a look at her. This is my sim pit. There she is. There's the beauty. There's the place where my butt spends most of its time. A little screen up there as well. So what you'll notice is that this sim rig was originally built for sim racing, car racing. That was what I was into during lockdown. Me and a friend online used to meet up and race all the time, and you know, it was a good way to hang out with people when you were locked indoors. So once that got a little bit more serious, I started to really enjoy myself, and as I do with everything, when I get into it, I get well into it. I started to build this alley rig and started to add the seat and the wheels and stuff like that. So you'll see as we go around that this is kind of a racing rig with a flying thing built around it. It's a bit of a compromise between the two. Let's take a little wander around the room and I'll show you a few things. If you ever heard me get out of my chair and hit my head on something, it's that bloody thing there. We've made it out of paper now, so that when I hit my head on the metal one, it was starting to hurt a bit. So put a paper one up there, but we can't find anything that fits in that ceiling rose. That looks nice. So paper one it is, and I'll just keep bashing my head because I'm an idiot. We go around the room. Over here is the PC. We'll have a closer look at that in a minute. Got a radiator down there, don't need that because we've got a PC. Blackout curtains, lovely. Here is the gift that fucking awesome got me for Christmas. It's an A10, fully loaded with all the gear. It's even got Mavericks. Look at that, how cool is that? Down here is a 3D printed Rossi G. This is my gaming laptop. Now, this is a recent addition. I've not had this very long, only a few months, but I spend a lot of time in hotels and abroad, and I find myself with time on my hand, which when you're trying to build a YouTube channel, you feel like it's wasted time sometimes. So you get something like this, and then when I'm sitting in a hotel room and I'm bored, I can smash out missions. I can start knocking them up on here. And also, once I've filmed missions, like I'm going to be doing this summer, I'm going to be taking all my recordings with me and editing them in my hotel room. So a gaming laptop, super handy, and also I can play Rocket League. Over here, LaserJet printer. That again, super helpful if you're doing one of the big missions and there's a call sheet, like a printout sheet. I can fire that off and have it in my hand in a couple of seconds, which is easier than running downstairs to like the office or something like that. And as you'll see as we go around, 3D printer has played a massive part in this rig over here. So yeah, I love the 3D printer. They're not as scary as everyone thinks they are. They're super easy to use. I love it. You can print all kinds of cool stuff with it. As you can see, I have recently and left it stuck on the bottom there. Right, let's go back to the rig. Let's start off with the chair. Now, obviously, that's a racing car chair because it was a racing rig. That is actually an FIA-approved OMP seat, so that can actually go in a racing car and go on a racing track. So, super comfy, super solid, doesn't move around. I really like it. I sit in it for hours at a time. It is the shape of my butt now. All right, let's move around again. So, the next things that are kind of giving it away to being an ex-racing sim. This thing here, the wheelbase, which I was going to upgrade to something a bit fancier once I moved over to this massive rig and PC, but I haven't really been playing, so I've left this old Thrustmaster thing in here for now. If I start taking it up again, which I might, I'll upgrade that to something real fancy, something Fanatec, maybe Moza, something like that, I don't know. Here is a gift from my wife, from when I was doing the racing gloves, have my number on them. When you're doing racing, your hands fatigue real quick because you're gripping on for dear life. So when you're gripping on for dear life, you after like an hour, your hands are shattered and you get shattered. So if you have like grippy gloves, you can hang on to that steering wheel for a little bit longer. And here is the steering wheel, by the way, a nice little carbon Thrustmaster bad boy with the screen on it. I love that thing, it's really cool. Let's talk about the creature comforts of this rig. We'll start from left to right. Here is my quad lock, which I mount my phone on, which is very handy because it faces towards me if I need to FaceTime my mum. It's pointing at my face because I'm always sitting here anyway. Charges the phone up as well, it's very handy. And I've got a Logitech webcam, which is really nice quality actually, but I don't really use it. I use it for like Skypes and stuff. I've also got a ring light, mind your eyes. Whee, makes me look pretty. like a TikToker. Yeah, and that's kind of cool. So that's all set up for if I do want to do streaming with my face. I tend not to these days. I used to when I used to stream racing cars and things, but I don't bother when I do the flying because you look like an idiot when you tip your head around with the Trak IR on. So I've left it off. Here's my mic. It's a Shure PGA 27. Now I used to podcast. Me and a couple of friends. We used to do an actual podcast. It's still on Spotify, but that is a hang up from those days. So when I decided to start streaming, like 2020-ish, did a little bit of racing streaming. This was in a box, and I was like, oh, let's just dig this out and use this. And then you know what? It's turned out to be really cool. And the same as this little thing down here. That's the sound card down there, which I plug into. Now, I had a bit of trouble with audio. It's very difficult to get your own audio back in your head, which you need if you're talking, because otherwise you start to slow your speech or, shout. So I decided rather than getting some Bluetooth headphones and trying to get the software to mix it because there was a delay, I'd mix it in the box. And then I plug my headphones straight into that. Speaking of headphones, here they are. There's a couple of Bose bad boys. Now, these I used to use for commuting. I used to go up on the tube into London. They're really good. I had to refurb them because they got absolutely wrecked. So I've got new muffs on them. I've got new top on them, as you can see that they got wrecked at one point. I got just thrown in a box and left in the garage. But I've dug them out and they sound amazing. They are really cool. And because I've decided to wire them rather than having them Bluetooth, because the last thing you want halfway through a game is to run out of batteries and you've got no headphones, you can't hear what's going on. And the same deal with the Trak IR. I mounted it on there and I've wired it in. I've taken the battery off and I've just hardwired it because your Trak IR goes halfway through a big mission, you're in big trouble. So, yeah. The PC itself is around here. It isn't anything special to look at. The full description of what is in there and the full build is in the description below. And on top of here, the irony, right next to the power button, is a Subaru BRZ. And if you've ever driven a Subaru BRZ, you'll see the irony in between those two things. Right, let's talk about the surround sound system. Underneath my pedals down here, there is a little amp, and I've got some speakers. There's one up there, there's one tucked in the middle there, there's one over there, there's two hidden down the back here. And speaking of pedals, these are a hang up from my racing days as well. So excuse the cables, I will tidy them one day. Today is not that day. When it's a constant work in progress, you never really get around to tidying it up. So they are racing pedals, inverted racing pedals as well, to make it a little bit more realistic. Now, when I go over to flight simming, I didn't really want to buy a new set of pedals. And as you know, the flight sim pedals kind of oscillate, don't they? As you push one pedal, the other pedal comes forwards. And these don't do that. Obviously I can push both of them at the same time, but there's a program on my computer called UCR, I believe, and that will look at the difference between the two. So I can actually use them for flying, which is really cool. And in this situation, I can use those for flying and I can use them for racing, whereas if I had the flying pedals, I wouldn't be able to use them for racing. So yeah, I've kept these ones for now, and to be honest, I'm quite happy. I've got good control over it, so that's fine. While we're down here, keyboard on a little pull-out drawer is in full teenager mode. The IQ software just crashes every time I try and run it on my PC, so it's it's flashing, yeah, and it looks horrible. I hate it. Hopefully that'll get fixed at some point. Also down here, 3D printed cup holder, and then we'll start talking about joystick. So my rig is a Thrustmaster Warthog HOTAS. That is the kind of base for it all. That is the stick. It's on a custom 3D printed base, which mounts to the rig itself on a little bracket underneath. And I love it. I do love it. It's very cool. I could do with the springs being a little bit looser for the helicopter stuff. I could almost do with being able to detach it from a spring. It's a bit of a pain to take apart and do all that stuff, so I've left it as is for now. And as you'll all be aware, this is the Thrustmaster HOTAS over here. I've stayed with this one. I'll explain why, because we'll talk about the Viper panel in a minute. Because I like the two separate throttles. Because one, if you're doing helicopters, you need a cyclic and a collective. And if I was going to get the Viper one, it would just be one which makes it a bit trickier because obviously the Viper's only got one engine. But it's got a load of switches on it, more switches than I'll ever need, flaps. This I use for zooming in and out. My screen and my autopilot buttons, and got some bobs down here. Got a few things up there as well. Just push the button. But yeah, it's a good bit of kit. I enjoy it. And then I recently added this one, which is the Viper. I want to call it a TQS. Is that what it's called? So this is part of the Viper throttle system, which has got a big throttle. And you know, I would have liked to have replaced it with that, but then I wouldn't be able to separate for helicopter flying. I love the helicopter flying at the moment. So I bought this panel on its own without anything else because it's got the gear and it's got the emergency jettison. I really like that. And this I use for adjusting my altitude for my radar scan. So I can scan a little higher, scan a little lower. And then it's got the buttons for when I'm flying the Viper as well, which is autopilot down here, headings. A lot of it's mapped in for the A10 as well. So I've kind of mapped it across the both. So if we head up here, you'll see that these are the Thrustmaster MFDs. But I've stuck them to some Alibaba 7-inch screens, I want to call them, and then 3D printed a back to them. Yeah, that took a little while to get right, but it looks really good. And you'll notice that it's on an offset. It's like kind of down in the bottom corner. That's because of the view that I sit at the seat. These are so deep and so far set back that if I don't have them offset, I can't see what's on the right hand side or what's on the top. So if you look at this side over here, you'll see that's kind of perfect because this is the kind of view that I look at it from, like a little bit higher, like that kind of view. In the middle, we have got the Wing F16 ICP. Great bit of kit. I love this thing. It looks so cool. For one, look at it. It's the same thing. It's that thing, but there. So the screen, which is off to the side, is now on top rather than being off to the right, but I get why they did that. It's nice to have the screen. As you can see, I'm making changes in the game and it's coming up on there. Very cool. Good timing. It's a very nice tactile thing. The dobber's a bit pony, but other than that, everything's nice. You can turn your brightness up and down on your HUD and things like that. It's very cool. Last thing to talk to you about, I guess, is Stream Decks. Now, I've separated these out almost entirely. This top left one here is just for PC stuff, so it launches games, it controls my streams. The bottom one is for in-game buttons, for like cockpit buttons and stuff like that, shortcuts. So this one will do, like for instance, see there it says starting. I start there. So if I click that button and we look up at the thing up there, boom, we're starting. So I got these little shortcuts to get through, and if I hit game, then it goes back to the game. So very, very handy. And I've also got like a separate page just for drop-ins, like if I'm talking about Discord, Patreon, last week's video, or subscribe, I can click all those buttons. Right, yeah, what else we got down here? So I don't know if you can really see this, but there is an A10 in the background there, which looks very cool, but it's kind of blowing out on here a bit. If I show you on the F16 page, so there's my F16s. All the buttons I need to turn the helmet mounted brightness up and down, night vision up and down, canopy buttons, recenter my Trak IR, which I need a lot, menu, map, cockpit view, I've got a clipboard button up there as well. So all the shortcuts that people are always asking about, I don't know what they are because I've got the programming into here and it does it for me, which is really nice. I can also mute myself on Discord, so if we're having a Discord chat and I want to chat to the audience, I can just hit that button. Recently I've added the ready pre-contact button on there as well, because I noticed that when we were doing air-to-air refueling, I was having to take my hands off the joystick and click the mouse, which is not great when you're that close to another aircraft, and then the eject button in the corner there, which you have to tap 3 times to get out. The only thing I don't think I've really spoke about is the screens. 2 separate screens, one just for gaming, one just for extra stuff. Now this is an AOC 31.5 inch, 144 Hertz, 1440p monitor, gaming monitor. It's a great screen. The image is crystal clear. Looks so good, and that is why I stream in 1440 as well, because I'm already processing it in 1440. Might as well go out 1440 and you guys can enjoy it a little bit crisper. The screen above is a screen I had lying around, so I just put it in. I just bought the bracket. I thought I've got the screen, might as well just pay the money for the bracket, get it up there. You know what, it's been super handy. You haven't got to leave the game to go to OBS, which is what I've got up there now. My Discord, I put the GUI page for the server up there and everything, so I can do all of that without ever leaving the game, which is very cool. I'd like more screens, but you know, wouldn't we all? I'd like the whole full 3-screen wraparound thing, and and all that, but we'll get there eventually. But as of 2024, this is my sim rig. I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of it, and now you know where all the images come from that you see on YouTube. And yeah, like I say, if you look in the description below, you can join the Discord, and a lot of the guys on Discord have been sharing their rigs lately, so we've been having a little chat and they've been showing us their toys. So go on there, join the Discord, links in the description below. You get all the MIS files for all the videos as well, and yeah, all the links for the Amazon stuff as well. If you want to buy any of this kit, I've put it all on there with Amazon affiliate links, so I get a little bit of a kickback from that, which would be super nice of you if you don't mind using it. Right, any questions in the comments below? I'll try and answer them best I can, but I hope you've enjoyed this sim rig tour, and we will catch you on the next video. Cheers everyone, goodbye.
Hello everybody, Geezer here and answering Rose's call. This is my rig. Now it's not a dedicated rig, so flexibility is important. To get this out of the way, I honestly believe that anyone who achieves perfect cable management with DCS deserves a special Nobel Prize. This is also a working space, so I need flexibility, and I made these mounts with clamps, can be moved left and right, and this is mounted on a monitor arm and can be moved out of the way. I have a Warthog throttle, which is pretty good, but I needed to make a couple of alterations to it, like this lever extension. Really useful. I have these two switches which come back to the off position. This is, for example, for Cat 1, Cat 3. And I also made a switch here. Don't know if you can hear the click. This is for the radar elevation. This radar elevation switch is connected to this encoder via USB. Windows recognize this as a generic joystick, and you have about, I believe, 12 inputs in there. You can use it for various things. This is my VKB Gladiator stick. I'm really happy with it. My only complaint is I would like for it to be a bit stiffer. Next, I have these two Cougar MFDs with the two screens bought from the depths of China. Work pretty well, and this is my latest addition, the Wing ICP DD combo. Really happy about it. Really helps. The only complaint is this knob switch. It's a little bit flimsy. It's mounted on this monitor arm, so I can get it out of the way. Sorry, Rusty, I'm not a dog owner, but I do have a pet face hugger. I used to have a button box here, but it was very limiting. Then I discovered an application for smartphones and tablets called Matrix. You can create your own profiles, customize your buttons, and Windows recognizes all these buttons as keystrokes. Works like a charm. And if I'm not mistaken, it costs 6 or 8 euros, something like that. Highly recommended. And now time for the fun stuff. You flip the switch on, you power up this small amplifier, and the seat starts rumbling. Down there I have a speaker, I think it's called a transducer, and vibrations from the aircraft go directly to my chair. My head tracking solution is the classic Trak IR, and I have a cap with reflective surfaces. But wearing this and headphones sets my head on fire. So I made this. This is my pride and joy. Battery powered, rechargeable, and you just put it in there. And this is how my desk looks when I'm not on DCS. Alfie can get all the attention he needs. So, roughly, this is my rig. It allowed me to combine two things I like, DCS and building stuff. I can proudly say that on it, if it doesn't use power, it's homemade. My 3D printer worked overtime for most of this stuff. And if you have the ability to do that, I highly recommend it because you save a lot of money. That's it. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Armchair here. Ross invited us to show everyone our setups for DCS, so I thought I'd put a little bit together and show you guys what I use. First off, I have the Secret Labs chair. I have everything mounted to that, well, just about everything, through Monster Tech mounts. I have the Virpil throttle and control panel mounted up here with this angle mount. I believe it's from Fox Mounts. I also have the full setup from WinWing, the MIP with the displays and the F16 ICP. This stuff's awesome. I couldn't imagine playing without it now that I have it. I have that all mounted on Monster Tech's MIP mount, which again is great. I obviously love their stuff. I have a bunch of it. This is the VKB Modern Combat. Fingers in the way, sorry. Modern Combat Ultimate Grip on a Gunfighter Mark III base. Had this thing longer than anything else that I've had here. I really enjoy it. Over here is the VKB Vertical SEM. Don't use it a lot now that I have the WinWing MIP, but it is really good. It's just I don't have a rig like Rossi does to have everything set up where I can reach it as easily from the chair, so it kind of stays back there and doesn't get used as much. The Samsung 49-inch G9 240 hertz panel. This thing's awesome. I had it for probably about 6 months now. Really enjoy it. The PC itself back there in the corner, don't really get to see it much, but it has a 7800 X3D from AMD. It's also an AMD GPU. It's a 7900 XTX, 64 gigabytes of RAM. It's a nice PC. I just upgraded all of it not too long ago. That's a Razer Black Widow Mini, I think. Wireless keyboard, pretty nice. Yeti mic, nothing special. I use Trak IR with the hat clip. Down here, we have the Virpil pedals. That's about it.
Welcome to the Nerd Tutorial. Ross has asked me to do a short video with my DCS rig. There it is. So I've got a Thrustmaster Warthog throttle, a Windwing Orion joystick, Thrustmaster pedals, two Thrustmaster MFDs, sounding a bit like an ad for Thrustmaster here, 3D printed keyboard mount and MFD mount, a little mouse table on the side so I can access it. And somewhere around there is a Quest 3 because I fly in VR. That's sitting on the model railway that will constantly be a work in progress. And also the other occupants of the room. It's my dog under the table in her accustomed spot. Got an airbrushing booth, a modelling bench, and a 3D printer setup.
Hi everyone, it's Back and Awesome here. I'm just going to do a quick rig video as requested by Rossi G. I hate doing these things, so it's going to be pretty quick. So, obviously my beautiful Christmas present, F-18, fully loaded. And my old Thrustmaster steering wheel from my days of sim racing before this thing got built. And I spent all of my money completely on DCS. This is my work in progress sim rig. Currently using all of the Wing Top Gun MIPs with the UFCs, which is honestly fantastic. It's one of the best things I bought. Lets you see everything going on. Good old fashioned whiteboard there. Some pretty RGB lights as standard, bit of a stream deck, running the Thrustmaster HOTAS, soon to be upgraded hopefully, but not quite sure what I'm going to buy yet. Also using Thrustmaster stick, and a very big uncomfortable chair, which definitely needs to be changed, but I need to do an extension in the house before I can do that. I also share this room with my wife as a music room. So, not ideal, but there we are. There's our beautiful Welsh Rhondda valleys out there. Not a bad view. And it's a nice place to be. So, there we are. That's kind of it, really. Oh, there you go. I just exploded because autopilot's not as good as you think. Excellent. Bye.
So just a quick little tour around MGP's DCS sim pit. It's a homemade wooden frame with a second-hand car seat bolted to it, and all the button boxes and HOTAS again clamped on at easy access levels. Seat slides forward so the stick is right in your between your knees, and the pedals are easy access for your feet, and then you can slide it back so you can get in and out easily. All the button boxes and pretty much everything else I've got here I've collected over the last couple of years. Anything that comes up on eBay at a good price I try and snap up. So I've got a Warthog stick and base with some Logitech pedals, and I recently added Virpil throttle and a Virpil button box there as well, and a couple of the MFDs with no screens. I just use little paper inserts with all my keyboard mappings on, so when I'm flying all the keyboard mappings are mapped to the MFD buttons if the plane doesn't use the MFDs, so for all the FC3 planes and the helicopters, although I'm now trying out the Kiowa, and so that's got the MFDs I've mapped onto my buttons there. Sometimes I fly in VR, so I've got a Quest 2 headset, but if I'm not in VR and I'm on the screen, I've got head tracking with an open track and a very, very cheap LED emitter off of eBay. The screen itself is a 43-inch TV, which runs happily in 4K if I want it to. Pretty nice effort, nice size, and behind the screen is the powerhouse. So that's an i7 PC in there, processor in the PC, 64 gig of RAM and a 3070 card in there, I believe, if I remember right. A trackball mouse is essential, I think, especially if you're in VR, to be able to put your hand down and find it. And the last important bit, when I'm flying helicopters, I've got a little X52 throttle mounted on a plank vertically, so that's next to my hip when I pull the seat forward, and that's my collective when I'm in the Huey or in the Kiowa. It keeps me occupied. Thanks very much. See you online.
Hi everyone, and welcome to my rig tour. I apologize for the noise. I live in Bermuda. It's a very hot country, so I have a few extra fans to keep the room cool. Right, let's get to the point with the rig. First off is the PC. It is running an Intel i7 3700 and an RX 6600 graphics card. They're not great, but they're what I've got. I do hope to get a new rig soon, but let's say is what I've got going for the time being. Flight controls, Thrustmaster HOTAS, it's the Warthog, and the TQS pedals, Thrustmaster pedals. 3 iPads running all my extra controls. One iPad running Touch Portal, which gives me access to a whole bunch of buttons that I can program. And then these 2 are running Warthog device, which give me access to all my MFD functions and my CDU and my upfront controller. 3 24-inch monitors, 24, 27. 3 monitors. The main display. There is another monitor down here, which, as you can see, is the repeater for the MFDs and my Viacom control panel, and then some switch blocks from Logitech. So yeah, that's my rig. Hope to fly with you guys soon.
Hey guys, Darth Pirate here. Thought I'd show you my online setup that I use to play DCS and some other online games. VTOL VR and Elite Dangerous. Not really a sim pit, but she gets the job done, and that's right. I'm from America, not the UK. Don't hold it against me. All right, let's take a look. Here's the rig. It's kind of small setup, but I've got a compact area that I'm in, and also work from the house 1 day a week. So yeah, let's take a look at the numbers. So that's it, 24 and a 32-inch panel. I do use a DualShock controller for some FPS stuff that I do online. Multi-USB hub. Yeah, there's the coffee warmer. Gotta have it. That's the rig. She's a beast. The 4090. I used to play DCS on that laptop, and had a 3070 laptop card GPU in it, and that 4090 is a beast. You saw where the I keep the Quest 2 down in there, and this is where everything's tucked away, nice and neat, all underneath the desk, all the controls. So we'll take a little bit of a closer look at it. Got some metal pegboard back there with some very shallow pegs, and all of the controls I can put away underneath the desk. So pedals, throttle HOTAS, the MFDs, the HOTAS stick, and then the pedal set for the for that steering wheel that I've got. That's also tucked over there in a little cubby hole with the where the VR headset is. So all that comes out, can come out and get set up, and then I can just put it away when need to. This is it. This is everything set up, ready to go. She's on the tarmac. Yeah, and the cup of coffee. Gotta have it.